Good morning, everybody. I'm White Collar Carl, and I learned the hard way so you don't have to. This video that I wanted to talk about today, as titled, is my first experience, my first introduction to pepper spray. So, I was currently in the SHU at the maximum security prison after, I had gotten in trouble for breaking the window of my cell door, and didn't know what the outcome was going to be yet. All I knew was that I was in trouble. It was obviously an accident, but they, didn't want to hear anything, and, they were punishing me. So I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to be redesignated, because I was supposed to be going to a minimum security camp. Now, who knows? I was worried that I might be, sent to a low security or a medium security now because of the disciplinary incident. So I had been in that observation cell for roughly a week. I think I told you they did that because the inmates that were all in the SHU were all maximum security inmates, and they couldn't put me in the cell with one of them, and there was no other open cells other than these observation cells, supposedly. Usually they put inmates in there as a punishment. So yes, they were probably punishing me too, but again, I couldn't be in the regular cells with the guys if there was no open ones. So after about a week, though, I think they decided I had enough of that. They said, can't keep this guy in there forever. I don't know, it's just my belief. And they said, we're going to put you into a regular cell. So I was like, all right, great. So they brought me back out to the holding cell in the front of the SHU unit, and they had me sit tight for a little bit. And the COs came over to me and said, you know what, we're going to put you in such and such cell. And I'm like, okay, I don't care as long as it's not the observation cell. Not that I have a choice anyways, but whatever. He told me all the specific cell, and they're kind of like smirking. And I'm like, well, what's funny about, with this cell? Like, why would he feel the need to tell me the specific cell or whatever? But I knew I was going to find out. So sure enough, they take me out of the holding cell and they start walking me down what they call the range, which is basically just a hallway in each of the prison units. There was 2 levels in the SHU, and they went out, like there was 3 different ranges. I think it was A, B, and C. So they brought me down to, I think, what was A range, and they brought me to the cell. They opened the door, and it looked similar to the cell that I had in the quarantine unit in A block. It was bunk beds. It was a lot smaller. It had its own shower in there, so you basically could shower anytime you wanted, which was great. That was like the one plus about being in the SHU, is that you could shower anytime you wanted. You had your own shower, but that was only so the COs didn't have to take the inmates out of the cells all the time for showers, because there was a lot of guys in those units, and there was only like couple main showers. So I walk in. So before they tell me to go in, they say, listen, the room's a little messy, cell's a little messy, you're gonna have to clean up. So I'm like, all right, what else is new? More work for me, more hassles, but I'm an inmate. It's what I'm used to at this point now. Not so much used to, but it's what I know is coming. And they put me in the cell. Now, when I walked into that cell, again, there was bunk beds to one side of the room. There was the shower in one far corner of the room. Not that it was really big. I mean, you could really almost touch both walls with each hand if you're standing in the middle. And there was a sink in the front corner attached to the toilet, all stainless steel. The cell was in disarray, so whoever was in there prior, any of their property that they left behind was just scattered all over the place. Papers, like books that were torn up into pieces. There was food wrappers. There was empty food trays from the food services. There was blankets and sheets like tossed on the floor. It was just a shit. It was a shit show. It was disgusting. There was trash everywhere, all over the place. Looked like it hadn't been cleaned in, forever. And The other thing I noticed is that there was this white powder all over the place. It was actually even floating in the air. Like they just, when I walked in there, it dusted it up, or they went in there and it just dusted it up. And I'm seeing the empty Ziploc bag of that toothpaste powder that I talked about in my earlier videos that they give you. They don't give us toothpaste, they give us this toothpaste powder, and you're supposed to mix it with water to make a paste, and then you brush your teeth with it. Or you could do what I did and just throw it in your mouth, put some water in there, and start brushing. It all does the same. So I thought that's what that was. There was powder all over it. So I'm starting to I took one of the blankets, because I had nothing to clean with, and I start sweeping the floor and off the bed of this white powder that's everywhere. Well, a couple minutes into doing it, I started sneezing and coughing. My eyes were watering. I mean, just uncontrollably. I couldn't stop coughing and breathing, and I could see the guys in the cell across the range from me. It's not far, it's just right across the hall from me. And they're in their window and they're looking at me and they're laughing and they're this and that. And I'm like, yo, what? And I said to them, what is this? What's going on? They're like, yo, that's pepper spray. I'm like, oh man. Now, at this point, I had it all over me. I had it on my hands. I had probably touched my face with my hands. I'm breathing it in. I could not stop hacking, coughing, and sneezing, and eyes tearing, and just brutal. So there's what they have, a distress button in the room, and you really don't want to press that thing unless you have to, because if 9 times out of 10 you press that button, the COs come down. Unless you're dead, they're going to beat the crap out of you, because they don't want to get off their asses. So sure enough, the CO comes down with the lieutenant on the unit. This is a big guy, probably about 400 pounds. I mean, he's huge. He's 6'4", and he's just large. Not even muscular, just fat, a big dude. And he's laughing in the window, and they're saying, what are you doing? What's the problem? Such and such. And I'm like, yeah, there's pepper spray all there. He goes, I know, clean it up. Like we said. I said, I don't got anything to clean it up with, and I can't stop breathing. I'm coughing. I can't breathe in here. And they're like, take off your shirt and dump it in the toilet and start wiping. I'm like, why the frick am I going to dump it in the toilet? Why can't I just put it in the sink or the shower? And I'm like, so sure enough, I do that. I take my shirt off, and I'm wiping everything down with the wet towel, and I cannot breathe. It's like if you got shot or sprayed with mace, for 5 minutes straight. That's how I felt. It was just brutal, and I gave up on trying to clean the room, and I just started rinsing my face off, but it was just burning and burning and burning. So finally, they relented, and they took me out, and they put me in back in the holding cell in the front, and they sent an orderly in there with a mop bucket, and to clean it all the powder out of there with the proper cleaning utensils, not my t-shirt, not the blankets from the bed, but something that they would actually clean, and they didn't have to use your hands and do what I just went through. Thankfully, after about an hour, I started calming down. The pain and the burning started going away. I tasted it in my mouth. My tongue was burning. I mean, it was just everywhere. Probably because I breathed it in, and then it, came down my nasal passages, into my mouth. I don't know, but it was one of the worst experiences I've ever gone through, because I've never been, I've never gotten shot or sprayed with mace or pepper spray or anything like that. So this is the first time I ever had any experience with it. So my first one was definitely rough, and this was just the beginning of the hell that I went through in this shoot. If it wasn't for some of the guys in there who are actually solid guys, decent guys, that helped me get through that, gave me some things to get me by. Shout out to Ox, nice Italian guy from New York, that really helped me when I got in the shoot, because I had nothing. I had no property. I had no commissary. I had nothing, because I went straight from intake into the quarantine. I never got any of my information, the commissary number, because they were still, when they were not locked down, they were able to get commissary, limited commissary in the shoot. Your you're able to get like some toiletries, you're able to get stamps, you're able to, so you can send mail out letters, and you're able to get some medication, like over-the-counter medication and things like that, are necessities when the prison's not giving any of this stuff to you. So shout out to those guys for helping me while I was in the shoe and getting me through. But this day was definitely a nightmare, and there was only more to come. So I hope you enjoyed this story. Please like and subscribe. I'm gonna try to do better with these videos. I'm gonna try doing them at home in a designated place as opposed to just in my vehicle when I'm driving. But I have no time for this stuff, so I'm gonna make time for it. So please bear with me, and I hope you like my White Collar Prison Chronicles logo. One of my best friends, who's a graphic designer, made it for me. It's a logo that was on the website for the blog for a couple of years now, and hopefully that brand or logo will make people recognize it's the same as the website, because I think we had a pretty decent following on there, and a lot of people enjoyed it, and I think you're going to enjoy this channel. So take care, everybody, and I will be sending out another video shortly.